Prose writers of the Civil War period. The prose of the Miltonic era is notably characterized by its strong religious orientation. Unlike the preceding Elizabethan and Jacobean periods, which featured a prominent secular focus, this era saw a shift towards a fervent engagement with religious matters. As Ligas observes, the wide ranging interests, curiosity about humanity, and the blend of comedy and tragedy in depicting life gave way to intense debates about Christian religious forms and a nearly obsessive quest for salvation. During the Caroline period, there was a clear division between religious affiliations, resulting in irreconcilable differences between the Puritans and the Protestants, or Anglicans. Both groups boasted prominent literary figures within their ranks. John Milton epitomized the Puritans, while Jeremy Taylor stood out among the Protestants. Among the Anglican writers, notable prose authors included George Herbert, Thomas Traherne, John Hales, William Chillingworth, John Gordon, and Jeremy Taylor. The majority of their works were centered around sermons, with Jeremy Taylor being the most distinguished and tolerant figure among them. In addition to his sermons, he authored Liberty of Prophesying, published 1646, and his renowned works Holy Living and Holy Dying. Jeremy Taylor, akin to Thomas Browne, grappled with the concept of human mortality in his writings. He viewed death as merely a transitional phase between two lives and exhibited a lack of fear towards it. His contemplation of mortality, religious practices like prayer, and the significance of faith and patience were further prompted by the recent loss of his wife. Taylor's prose style exemplifies the Baroque style characterized by lengthy, elaborate, and flowing sentences reminiscent of the river Alph in Coleridge's Kubla Khan. This ornate and rich style defined his literary expression. Sir Thomas Browne. Sir Thomas Browne was an English polymath and author known for his extensive and diverse body of work that showcased his profound knowledge across various fields, including science, medicine, religion, and the esoteric. His writings reflected a deep fascination with the natural world, influenced by the scientific revolution's Baconian inquiry. Browne's works were enriched by references to classical and biblical sources and his distinctive personality. Despite often being associated with melancholy, his writings featured wit and subtle humor. His literary style exhibited remarkable variety, ranging from raw notebook observations to refined Baroque eloquence. In his literary career, Browne began by compiling notebooks filled with miscellaneous notes. Drawing from these notebooks, he created his second and more extensive work, Pseudodoxia Epidemica, inquiries into very many received tenets and commonly presumed truths, commonly referred to as Browne's vulgar errors. This work aimed to debunk popular beliefs and superstitions prevalent during his time. In 1658, Browne published his third book, which consisted of two treatises on antiquarian subjects. The first was Hydriotaphia, Urn Burial, or a discourse of the sepulchral urns lately found in Norfolk, where he pondered death and the transient nature of human fame while discussing sepulchral urns. The second treatise, The Garden of Cyrus, or the Quincennial Lozenge or Network Plantations of the Ancients, explored the history of horticulture from the Garden of Eden to the Persian gardens during Cyrus's reign. Browne's fascination with the quincunx was evident in his work. Posthumously, a minor but exquisitely beautiful and subtle work titled A Letter to a Friend upon occasion of the death of his intimate friend was published in 1690. One of Browne's most famous works is Religio Medici, The Religion of a Doctor, published in 1643. It served as a spiritual testament and early psychological self-portrait. This work became a European bestseller, garnering Browne fame both at home and abroad. Religio Medici was structured around the Christian virtues of faith and hope in its first part, and charity in the second part. Browne expressed his beliefs in various Christian doctrines, including sola fide, the existence of hell, the last judgment, and the resurrection. A prominent theme in Browne's Religio Medici was the relationship between science and religion. He used scientific imagery to illustrate religious truths, engaging in a discussion about the intersection of science and religion, a topic that remains relevant even today. Thomas Fuller. Thomas Fuller was an English churchman and historian, celebrated for his extensive writings, notably Worthies of England, published posthumously in 1662. He was a prolific author and one of the earliest English writers to sustain himself through writing. Educated at Queen's College, Cambridge, Fuller gained a remarkable reputation in the pulpit. He became the preacher at the Chapel Royal, Savoy, London in 1641, serving there until the political turmoil of the English Civil Wars forced him to relocate to Oxford in 1643. Fuller briefly served as chaplain to the Royalist army during the conflict and spent nearly 2 years with the infant Princess Henrietta in Exeter. After returning to London in 1646, he authored Andronicus, or the Unfortunate Politician, published 1646, a satirical work targeting Oliver Cromwell. In 1649, he assumed the parish of Waltham Abbey, Essex, and formed a friendship with the prominent biographer Izaak Walton. Appointed to a pulpit in London in 1652, Fuller completed the Church History of Britain, distinguished for its character sketches. He also contributed to the history of the University of Cambridge and the history of Waltham Abbey in Essex in the same year. In 1658, he became the parish priest of Cranford near London and continued preaching in the capital. With the monarchy's restoration in 1660, Fuller's ecclesiastical privileges were reinstated and he earned a Doctor of Divinity degree at Cambridge. Fuller expanded the scope of English biographical writing by infusing factual accounts with human interest details and psychological insights. His History of the Worthies of England, published 1662, was the first attempt at a national biography dictionary. Known for his quaint and witty writing style filled with epigrams, anecdotes, puns, and conceits, Fuller also paid meticulous attention to literary form. Among Fuller's works, The Holy State, the Profane State stands out as an engaging collection of character sketches with significance for English literature historians. Jeremy Taylor. Jeremy Taylor was an esteemed cleric in the Church of England and a renowned author during Oliver Cromwell's protectorate. Revered for his poetic and eloquent prose style, he is often likened to the Shakespeare of divines and widely regarded as one of the greatest English language prose writers. In the Church of England's calendar of saints, Taylor is commemorated with a lesser festival on 13 August. Taylor enjoyed the patronage of Archbishop William Laud and later became a chaplain in ordinary to King Charles I, a position sponsored by Laud. However, this association made him politically suspect when Laud faced trial for treason and subsequent execution in 1644 or 1645 during the English Civil War. Following the parliamentary victory over the king, Taylor faced multiple brief imprisonments. Eventually, he found refuge in Wales and served as the private chaplain to the Earl of Carbery. After the Restoration, Taylor was appointed as the Bishop of Down and Connor in Ireland and also held the position of Vice-Chancellor at the University of Dublin. During his literary career, Taylor authored enduring works, notably The Rule and Exercises of Holy Living and The Rule and Exercises of Holy Dying. These devotional handbooks aim to assist Church of England members who lacked regular ministry during the Commonwealth's disturbances. Their profound spiritual insights and literary beauty resonated across denominations and even influenced 18th century Methodist leader John Wesley. John Evelyn, the diarist, served as a spiritual counsel to Taylor and provided him with financial support. Izaak Walton. Izaak Walton was an English biographer and author, best known for his enduring work, The Complete Angler, published 1653, a pastoral discourse extolling the joys and art of fishing. This book remains one of the most frequently reprinted works in English literature. Additionally, Walton authored several short biographies, including one dedicated to his friend John Donne. Walton lived in proximity to St. Dunstan's Church, where he actively engaged in parish affairs and formed a close friendship with the vicar John Donne. Following Donne's death in 1631, Walton composed an elegy for the posthumous publication of Donne's poems in 1633. In 1640, he penned The Life and Death of Dr. Donne to accompany a collection of Donne's sermons. Walton later revised and expanded this biography in 1658. His second biography, The Life of Sir Henry Wotton, highlighting the achievements of the poet and diplomat, was published in 1651. 2 years later, Walton achieved lasting fame with The Complete Angler or The Contemplative Man's Recreation, further editions of which saw continuous improvements. This quest for perfection also manifested in the repeated revisions of his biographies. In 1665, he authored The Life of Mr. Richard Hooker, dedicated to the Elizabethan bishop, and subsequently revised it in 1666. In 1670, he published The Life of Mr. George Herbert, celebrating the poet's life and works. That same year, he released an edition that included all 4 of his biographical works. Thomas Hobbes. Thomas Hobbes was an English philosopher, scientist, and historian renowned for his political philosophy, particularly as expressed in his seminal work Leviathan, published in 1651. Hobbes emphasized the role of government in ensuring collective security, justifying political authority through a hypothetical social contract that entrusts a sovereign individual or entity with the responsibility for the safety and well-being of society. In metaphysics, he staunchly defended materialism, asserting that only material substances are real. In his scientific writings, Hobbes attributed all observable phenomena to the effects of matter in motion. He not only made his own scientific contributions, but also systematized the findings of his contemporaries, including Galileo and Johannes Kepler. Hobbes' enduring legacy lies in his political philosophy, which supports extensive government powers based on the self-interested consent of citizens. Leviathan, formerly titled Leviathan or the Matter, Form and Power of Commonwealth Ecclesiastical and Civil, is one of Hobbes' most renowned works, published in 1651. The title alludes to the biblical Leviathan. The book delves into topics related to societal structure and legitimate governance, making it an influential early example of social contract theory. Penned during the English Civil War, it argues in favor of a social contract and the rule of an absolute sovereign. Hobbes contends that only a strong, undivided government can prevent civil war and the brutal state of nature characterized by the war of all against all.